All right.
Hello. I am so glad to be here today. I am Dr. Helen, founder and chief engagement officer of Dr. Helen Holton and Associates, and your show host for Dr. Helen Speaks, Strengths, Resilience, and Leadership. I am so happy today. You know, the start of a new month always brings a lot of things up. It's February. It's Love Month. What does that mean? I'll tell you more in a minute, but I want to set the tone for you for where we're going today. So I'm a strengths, resilience, and leadership coach who guides leaders like you to grab hold of your greatness and go for that gold ring. Yeah, it's gold. It ain't brass. For us, it's gold. And how does it happen? Working together, we'll walk you through that. We're going to give you information, empowerment tips, techniques, tools that you can put in your purse. You know how we girls do. We can put a whole lot in our purse to keep life going and make it happen. Using a system that you'll learn more about later to help you leverage your strengths, understand your weaknesses, and build resilience. And what's the end result? An increase in your performance, productivity, and prosperity potential. Now, in business talk, that's profits. So whether you are employed with an organization, a solopreneur, a homemaker, whatever, at the end of the day, we want a strong bottom line. And this will help you come into your own to live your best life ever. Relationships matter. And I am so grateful. I begin every show with an attitude of gratitude. And I have to give a shout out to Paula Fellingham. Paula Fellingham is the chief architect, the visionary leader, the dream weaver of connecting the dots of 3.9 million women across this planet. Paula, thank you. I wouldn't be here without your dream coming true. And I know a little bit of something about dreams coming true. But I am excited today because it's Love Month. And what better way to celebrate Love Month than to bring along someone that you love? And my guest today is executive coach Denise Harris. I've known Denise Harris not that long, but long enough. We were fast and furious at connecting and building a friendship. And she's an executive coach like I am. Her background comes out of corporate, where she spent 20 plus years in corporate leadership, understanding what it means to be a woman of color, leading, and the challenges, the opportunities, and how we as women can show up to have more and be more. You know, I always say I'm living my best life ever. And the question I always pose is, do you get to do what you do best every day? Yeah. Do you get the chance to do what you do best every day? Well, I do. And that's why I'm here, because I want that for you. And I'm going to keep showing up every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time to help you live your best life ever by sharing tools, tips, techniques. You'll get to hear from the experiences of leaders like you. Who knows, you may be a guest on the show one day yourself. But through their experiences, earned expertise, you'll get to hear from some of them. And my guest today is one of those. You know, I love Denise. She's got a long-standing background. From the first moment we met, I knew we were going to be best buds, and we are. We collaborate on some things together. And I said, what better person for Love Month and what we're going to talk about today? So what's on tap for today? Today's episode is for you. How are you loving you? And when we started out down this path, I had a whole lot of other things that I wanted Denise and I to talk about, and had to hit the reset, because here's where we're going today. Now, I'm going to tell you, February might be the shortest month of the year, but it is a month that's got a whole lot of activity going on. Hey, today is February 1st. It is Black History Month. Yay! You know, I love that. Personal privilege. It's also the Chinese Lunar New Year today. It's also World Hajib Day.
Okay.
Tomorrow is Groundhog's Day. And it's also Heart Health Month. Oh my goodness, Love Month, Heart Health Month. Who'd have thunk it? It's also, we're going to, throughout this month, it's going to be President's Day. There is Black HIV AIDS and Awareness Day that happens in this month. Valentine's Day, and a whole lot more, I'm sure. I don't know them all, but those are the highlights of what I could pull on quick order. We're going to talk about today, how are you loving you? According to, and it shifted, not so much how are you loving you, but I want to bring this up. Yesterday, I believe it was. My days get a little fuzzy. If it wasn't yesterday, it was just the day before. No, today's Tuesday. It was yesterday. Yesterday morning, I woke up to the news that Cheslie Kryst, now everybody probably knows her name by now, who was crowned as Miss USA in 2019. Miss Cheslie's gone home to be with the Lord. She's gone on to glory. At the age of 30, she jumped off of the roof of the high-rise building she lived in Times Square. Or it's being investigated. They've not ruled it a suicide, but there are no signs of foul play or anything at this point. But it begs you to wonder and understand. A beautiful 30-year-old Black woman at the top of her game, a correspondent for, what was the show? Extra, you know, I don't do a lot of that daytime TV stuff or evening TV stuff. She was a correspondent for Extra, a twice nominated Emmy nominee, an attorney with an MBA working in her legal field, gone like that. What happened? So let me give you a little backdrop. According to American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death. In 2019, 1.38 million suicide attempts were made. If you're listening to the show and you know someone who you think may be hurting or in pain for their life, reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. I'm going to give you that number. It's 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255. Or text 741-741. Or the suicidepreventionlifeline.org. But enough of that. We're going to get to what we're going to talk about today. And I will just say my heart is heavy for what has taken place. And in that heaviness, I called Denise. I said, Denise, we got to shift the focus of the show. Are you good with that? She said, sure, whatever. You know, and so here we are. We're going to talk about what it means, not necessarily in the context of how we hear it, but in the context of how it impacts women who are leaders like you. You know, when I think about the term that everyone banties around these days, imposter syndrome, I would put this clearly in that category. Why? How many women do you know that put on that makeup, metaphorically speaking, put on that makeup to hide the pain, the hurt, the hopelessness, being lost? We as women don't always reach out to others for help. And this is one of those times when it means a lot. So Denise, tell us a little bit about yourself and how that news impacted you.
Sure. Well, first of all, Dr. Helen, thank you so much for having me. I'm really delighted to be here. And as you said earlier, I have my own professional development firm. I am an executive coach. I work with leaders, primarily female leaders who are looking to advance their career and do it in a way that's sustainable. So I've been having my own company now for just about 7 years. It'll be 7 years in June. Hard to believe.
I love it.
Yeah, but I love the work that I do, and I offer workshops, and I do private coaching. I do a lot of facilitation. I also go out to organizations and work with leaders there as well. But that to the side, more importantly, I was just listening to what you were saying about Cheslie, and you know, the news. I want to say it took me by surprise, but at the same time, it's been as if I've been hearing this now for some time. I mean, you know, recently Regina King's son, 27 years old, also, you know, went the same path. You know, and we've been hearing about this, and it brings to mind, how are we taking care of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and how are we taking care of those who are around us? The pandemic has had such a tremendous impact on so many people, and so many of us are struggling today.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it really begs to differ in terms of what are the conversations that we need to have so that we can bring awareness to what does self-care really mean?
Yeah. Yeah. What does it mean?
Yeah.
And that's what brought me to the point of where we are today. What does that mean?
Mhm.
So let me ask you this question, Denise.
Sure.
How can women take personal responsibility, not only for their professional development, but their personal well-being?
Yeah. Let me answer that, start off with the personal well-being. I think the first thing is understanding how to say no. So many of us are people pleasers. We are wanting to make sure that everybody in the family and at work and outside in our organizations and our associations, that everybody is happy. And so we're constantly saying yes to everything. Yes, I can prepare that dinner. Yes, I can make that meeting. Yes, I'll work on that project plan. Yes, I'll do your taxes for you. And there's no boundaries established. And so I really feel that when it comes to our own personal well-being, that we have to begin with understanding how to say no.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, I want to move through this because there's so much to this question that you asked. But the other thing is really being able to ask for support when you need it.
Come on, say it.
I think oftentimes ask for help, ask for support without having that feeling of debt. Oh my goodness, if I ask her to do me a favor, then I'll owe her something. Or, oh no, I'm a burden because I'm asking for help. When you need support, ask for support. That's it. And I think we have to begin to model that behavior so that our own daughters, our own sons understand that there's nothing wrong with asking for someone for help. It doesn't mean that we're weak or that we don't know how to do something. Instead, it just means that, hey, we could use a little help here.
Yeah.
And that makes a huge difference, Dr. Helen. The other piece that I would say is taking care of yourself, like your doctor's appointments, your annual mammograms, right? I mean, just taking care of your physical health, being conscientious about your diet and getting some exercise on a regular basis. Those things, it sounds simple, but it's not easy. It's like everybody wants to be rich and thin, but nobody wants to save money. Nobody wants to stop eating cookies. So it sounds simple, but really just being intentional about our own physical health, from doctor's appointments to going out and walking every day or twice a week to eating healthy. I think that alone makes a huge difference.
So Denise, I want to say this. You opened it up about our inability to say no. And I say to my clients more often than I find myself saying it, when I'm hearing the overload, the exhaustion, the frustration, and I say, no is a full sentence.
Yeah.
No, period.
Right.
And shut up.
Yeah.
We have a tendency, I got this, that, the other going on. Let me see if I can squeeze it in.
We want to justify it. Right. Again, that goes back to that whole thing around people pleasing, right? And you don't want to say no because you want to be liked and you want to be seen as somebody who is helpful and somebody who's a team player and, someone who wants to do for others. But at the end of the day, being able to say no is meaningful. And it's a practice, Dr. Helen. You don't just wake up one morning and start saying, it's a discipline.
That's right.
Right.
You start small until you build up the confidence when it's a big ask to just say, no.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not available.
That's right. Yeah.
And stop. And I think I kind of see it as that, okay, I'm not going to say the missing, but we don't have that extra chromosome. And what that does is we're nurturers. We want to help people. That's what we do. I'm not a parent, but I'm a godparent. Let me back that up. I'm not a parent. I've not birthed any babies, but I got lots of kids out here. Godchildren, village kids. Oh yeah, they call me when they need, and I'm there. Interns who like, oh, you're never getting rid of me. Okay. till you graduate. The point being, there's a lot to who we are in terms of taking care of and being supportive of other people.
That's right.
So let me ask you this. What role might resilience play to help leaders rebound from life's disruptions, distractions, and disappointments?
Yeah.
Because I think that has a lot to say. If you're having those feelings of hopelessness and doubt, and you know how that inner critic can take you right to the edge.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
might resilience play a role to help keep you from going over that edge?
I always say that leaders have to know themselves
Hmm.
and really have a self-awareness around what your triggers are and when you are feeling that you're burned out,
Mm-hmm.
being able to step back and step away and close down the laptop. Leaders have to be able to recognize
You know
that.
you're walking up my lane, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, you've got to be able to close that laptop and take some time. I think, resilience also has to do with understanding who you are and how you show up, that you have evidence of success. And so that you don't have to constantly be out there proving yourself over and over again, but that if you trust yourself and know who you are and show up with that confidence and that security, you're also sort of modeling that for others as well.
But here's the thing, Denise, others might not know that you're modeling that. They may just say, oh, she's stronger than I am.
Yeah.
Oh, she's got more in it than her. What I know is this: none of us are born resilient.
Yeah.
Resilience is something we build throughout our lives. It's a process.
Mhm.
It's a discipline. We talk about systems of getting things done. You might think of resilience as a system that you adopt for your life through habits, having a lifeline. You know that core posse you got, that when you are deep and
Right.
under it, you know who you're going to pick up the phone and call
That's right.
to keep you calm, sane, not thinking that you're crazy and lost your mind.
Mhm.
Maybe it is a practice. I begin every day in quiet time with me and God,
Yeah.
and it sets the tone for my day. Now, it doesn't mean my day won't necessarily get interrupted as soon as
Right.
I turn it on, but it means I've got something stored up within me
Yeah.
that I might, blow off some steam initially, but then I'm going to come back and say, nope, it's not that deep.
Yeah.
This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna set it over here. I'm gonna map it out. I'm gonna do something. And so resilience, I think, is a powerful tool that helps get people off that ledge but you've got to, it's not when you're in a crisis, oh, let me build some resilience. No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
build it when you're not in crisis.
That's right. And I do think that part of it is, again, as I was saying earlier, taking care of yourself, right? Because you can't pour from an empty cup. See, that's really the reality, right? And so when you talk about resilience,
I just want you to say that again.
yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Mm-hmm.
It's the truth,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I feel very, very strongly that resilience comes from being able to take good care of yourself, to have that self-awareness. Some of these things that we're saying may sound repetitive, but it's reinforcing that message, because that's where it all begins, is having that awareness, knowing what your triggers are when you're feeling burned out, to be able to say no, to be able to stop, to be able to take care of yourself and go for that walk. But when you talk about resilience, part of it also, Helen, is that you have to establish some habits for yourself too, right? And along with those habits, maybe it's eating right, maybe it's exercising. Along with those habits come your non-negotiables. I'm not working past 6 o'clock in the evening,
Mm-hmm.
right? I am not working on Saturday and Sundays,
Yes.
right? My
But it
meeting
also means something
no
as
longer
simple.
than 30 minutes, right? But being able to have like what your non-negotiables are is so important. No meetings on Monday morning, or leaving the office or shutting down at 3 p.m. on Friday. Those non-negotiables are such key components to
Mhm.
being successful. And also, as you said earlier, having that resilience.
Yes. It's a discipline.
Yeah.
It's a structure, just like you get up and brush your teeth every day.
Yeah.
Maybe you stick on the mirror some positive affirmations to affirm who you are.
Mhm.
I'm a child of the Most High.
Yeah.
Nothing will defeat me this day unless I allow it. Whatever it may be, journaling. There are many ways that
Yeah.
you can show up. The difference is, to build resilience, you got to know that you're consciously doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are those things that we do that, think about it, when we get our back up against the wall and say, oh, I got to get out, and you get out of it. How many times do you go back and debrief? Now, what exactly did I do to get out of that scrape? So that if I find myself there again, I know what I can do.
Yeah.
And this is where we get into how the brain functions.
Mhm.
We're talking about the brain, and that's a lot that has to do with mental health and our personal well-being. When repetition is the motherhood of all learning. Bar none. Repetition is the motherhood of all learning. And those things we repetitively tell ourselves, put in place for our lives, are those things that are going to be manifest.
Mhm.
So, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
Love in, love out. We get to choose. We get to choose,
Mhm.
but it's with intention. It's consciously. We have to seek it and know that that's what we want.
Yeah.
So let
Yeah.
me ask you this. How do you coach your clients? And I know that you use Clifton Strengths for a lot of your work.
I
How do you
do.
coach your clients on how to leverage their strengths for increased performance and productivity?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it starts with identifying what your strengths are. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the first thing, whether you do it through an assessment like Clifton Strengths or whether you get feedback, but really being able to identify what are my strengths and then using that on a daily basis. Like focus on what's working, not so much on what's not, but what is working for you. I think that's, I think
That's
that's,
the whole glass half full, half empty kind
yeah,
of thing.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So know your strengths and then create a plan for yourself. Right. I mean, I always tell this story. I remember, being very young. I think I was in fifth grade or so, and hearing, Alice in Wonderland, and they were talking about how when Alice gets to this certain crossroads, she sees the Cheshire cat, and she asks the cat, which way should I go? And the Cheshire cat says, well, where do you want to go? Where do you want to end up? And she says, I don't know. And so the Cheshire cat then says, well, then it doesn't matter which way you go. Right. I mean, so I always took that to mean that we have to have goals in place for ourselves to help us sort of center and figure out what direction do I want to go in.
Mhm.
Right. And so being
Yeah,
able to have those goals is such a key component, being able to have a plan for yourself, prioritizing professional development.
I love it. It really does matter. And one of the things, let me define for the audience, strengths. Strengths are those dominant ways of being, those ways in which you naturally think, feel, and behave that bubble to the top. Now, Gallup has 34 talents. And when you take this assessment, it's going to rise to the top, those that are most indicative of you. And this goes back to how the brain thinks. It's a psychometric assessment tool, so you can't trick it to have it come out with the way you want it to come out. But then taking the assessment is only the beginning. As you know, Denise,
Yeah.
you got to work it.
Yeah.
And I think the beautiful thing about coaching is that you get to co-create that plan. You get to open up the space for clients to go deeper than they would if it was just on their own. You offer them accountability, so it's not just what you say you're going to do, but there's someone saying, well, did you get that done? Let's talk about what you said you were going to do in our last session, something to that effect. Does that make sense?
It does. And I would add to that too, Dr. Helen, the idea of being able to identify what your own values are.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, I think that's a key component. Like understand like what's important to you. Like for me, it's all about, family, fun, and freedom. Right.
Mm.
And that's what drives me is it's family, fun, and freedom. Those are my values. And so, they're different for everyone, but it's important that you know that. And if you can align your values with what your strengths are, then you've got a win-win going on.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I love it. As we're winding down, let's talk about, Gallup says that there they have the metrics that prove that when you know who you are,
Yeah.
through the best of who you are, the best way I can describe it, that you're 3 times more likely to report having an excellent quality of life,
Yeah.
6 times more likely to be actively engaged in what it is you do. Going back to that opening question.
Yeah.
Do you have the chance to do what you do best every day? How do you get to that place? Make it real for you. That it does increase performance. It does increase productivity.
Yeah.
And if you got those 2 things working, bingo,
Yeah.
it's going to impact the bottom line for
Right.
you personally and professionally. And I see it happen all the time. Tell me, share with the audience today, Denise, that what have you found most challenging as a female leader? And how have you dealt with that
Yeah.
out of the best of who you are?
Yeah. I think the pandemic has really put sort of a heavy layer on so many of us in terms of leadership, because a big challenge is really leading in uncertainty, right? That there's things are constantly changing, and things are always changing. Yeah, that's things have always been changing, but now we're really dealing from a global perspective around this pandemic, and it really requires all of us to be so much more empathetic.
Mm.
It requires us to be much more present.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and really to focus on the ability to connect with others, which means that we have to begin to listen to receive,
Mm-hmm.
right? Listen to receive what someone is telling us, right? And that's really the idea on picking up when people are struggling,
Mm-hmm.
right? Understanding what people are saying and sometimes hearing what they're not saying. But I think that's been a big part of the struggle, is the idea of being present, staying connected, being empathetic, and listening much more closely than we ever have before. And
Yeah.
that's a constant practice, because we do that in our own world of busyness, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just to stay present, right? Without devices. How many people are probably listening to us right now on their computer, maybe on their phone, maybe, scrolling through another website? Because we've sort of gotten used to multitasking.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is the challenge is to be present.
Yeah. Yeah. So Denise, we've got like 2 minutes left, and I want to give you a moment to tell everyone about Elevated Leadership Academy.
Yes. Elevated Leadership Academy is my 8-week workshop for women. We are starting on Wednesday, March the 2nd, and it is a fantastic accelerated group coaching program. We keep the group small, but in that 8 weeks, we really focus on developing personal vision. We focus on understanding how we are showing up in front of other people. We focus on your career and what you want, and how to align that with your own values, with what's important for you. And then most importantly, you have an opportunity to connect with other women
Mm-hmm.
who are leaders as well. It's a fantastic program. Again, the 3rd cohort is starting on March the 2nd. If anyone is interested, I encourage them to go to my website, which is deniseharrisonline.com. deniseharrisonline.com, and you can schedule a 30-minute call with me, and we can talk about it. I can give you more detailed information and determine whether or not you think you'd be a good fit for it. We've had a number of our alum come out of the program.
Okay, Denise, we're going to have them find you.
Great.
Got
Okay.
30 seconds left.
Okay.
And if you don't remember all that, just look for her on LinkedIn. You'll find
Yes,
her there.
I'm
Denise
there
Harris.
too. Thank you, Ellen.
I want to thank you all for showing up today for you. It's Love Month. Love on somebody today. But
Yes.
before you love on somebody else, check out, how are you loving you? Spend some time with that. I'll be here every Tuesday as your host of Dr. Helen Speaks, Strengths, Resilience, and Leadership, where we talk about all these things that help to make you the leader within you that has great potential. We want that for you. Dr. Helen, every Tuesday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time.
Don't miss it.